All right. Want to give a good welcome to everybody who is joining us on KCENTV.com, the 6 News app, and of course the 6 Plus app on Roku. We are live streaming our radar today to show you our latest weather updates. We do have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings in the area to talk about. One of those is it does include parts of Bosque County, McLennan County, down into Coryell County there. You can see it did just pop up right there for us on the screen. So that is in effect until 6:45. So let's take a look at this storm because there's kind of a lot going on here. We have some very large hail and a wind threat with this storm. So again, this is in effect until 6:45, and again, it's going to continue moving south through through Bosque, and then cross into Coryell and to McLennan County. So this one is kind of moving towards Crawford. So if you're in the Crawford area, very large hail with this storm. In fact, at one point in time, the storm just off to its northeast, it was capable of 3-inch hail when it was back in Johnson County. So both these storms, very strong, very powerful, very large hail possible with both of these storms. So as these continue to move southeast, again, it's going to move through just to the west of Clifton, probably through Crawford though. So again, that's what we're going to be watching. If you're in Clifton, the largest threat for hail should slide just to the west of town for you. So let's go ahead and take a look at these. I'm going to pull out my card here so I have better access so I don't have to leave the screen here, and we can take a look at these storms. Again, severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for both of these areas. We do have a tornado warning sort of in the area, but also not really in the area, still well west of the Colorado River. We'll talk about that one as well here as we move through this little live stream. All right, so jump in here. Excuse me. All right, so what we're looking at is the storm itself. We're going to take a look inside of it, though. We're going to kind of jump in here with our hail tool, and you can see very large hail here possible right along the Hamilton-Bosque County line here. You can see that brightest shade of pink. That is where the largest hail is going to be. And as we kind of get a note on that, 2.1 inches. So very large hail, not quite to baseball sized hail, but again, 2 inches is definitely double what our severe criteria is. Our severe criteria is 1 inch. This is up to 2 inches. So very large, damaging hail possible with these storms. Also a wind threat as well as these storms continue to push through. We're going to switch over to our wind tool. And you can see here, little bit of rotation within this storm. Again, not tornadic yet. No tornado warnings on this storm. However, you can see it is kind of wrapping up a little bit there, so we're going to keep an eye on that for sure as we clear out all of our other messages. Okay. Again, a little bit of rotation popping up here. Again, mostly broad rotation, not a tornado warning on this storm. Not expecting that just yet. 65-mile-per-hour winds, though, so the straight line winds in and of themselves can be very strong with these storms as they continue to move through. That can be damaging. So let's slide up to the Hill County storm because that one also has a history of very large hail and strong winds. And in fact, just to the north of Hillsboro right now, you can see that one wrapping up just a little bit too. Let me step out of the way here. Greens and reds coming together. So some rotation present in these storms. Right now, not tornadic rotation, but enough rotation that it is holding them together and helping them continue on. So as far as the Hillsboro storm is concerned, we're looking at potentially 60 to 70 mile-per-hour winds with these storms. So very strong winds coming out as these storms continue to progress. And you see on this last scan, maybe a little bit of a weakening here, just a little bit, maybe a 50 to 60 rather than the 60 to 70 we were just seeing. So that's good news, but again, still very strong, powerful winds with these storms, large hail. Let's go ahead and take a look at the hail again. Since that last scan, everything does seem to have gone down just a little bit, but I do want to kind of see what we're dealing with in that regard from that last scan. Again, hail still holding together, staying west of Clifton, staying to the north of Hillsboro, but Hillsboro, this storm could bring its hail core right through town here over the next several minutes. Again, these storms are moving off to the southeast, so that's something we're going to have to watch out for in Hillsboro for the next 20 minutes or so. Again, zooming back out and taking a wider look, we do have the one tornado warning. Again, this is moving towards Llano County, but again, you can see the National Weather Service that covers Llano County has not included them in their tornado warning here. So we're gonna watch this. This storm is tracking to the southeast though, so it's gonna move that direction and then should slide to the south of Lampasas and Burnett counties. And again, continue on down towards, there we go. So now Llano has been included in that tornado warning. So that storm is gonna kind of slide through the western parts of Llano County first, then down towards the south central parts of the county before again sliding down south of Burnett and Lampasas County. So these are the storms we continue to watch. And of course, here in about 9 minutes, we'll be coming back on 6 News at 6. We'll take an even deeper dive into these storms as well. So stay tuned online. Live Radar will continue, and go ahead and join us here in the next 9 minutes or so on 6 News at 6 for the latest as well. We'll be back.
Oh. Mic check 1 2. Mic check. Mic check. Oh, let me make sure this is good. Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. Sorry. Okay.
Over here on the desk, so I'll throw it way out here at times, but usually just right in here. I don't put them up
This is 6 News at 6.
Coming up on 6 News, why local firefighters say their time and resources are being wasted by new policies at nursing homes.
And a little bit later, what life has been like on campuses embroiled in protests. We're going to hear from Jewish students who say anti-Semitism is on the rise. Good evening, Central Texas, and welcome in wherever you may be across our viewing area. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Radcliffe.
And I'm Sydney Deshawn, filling in for Lindsay Littman. The threat of severe weather is out there tonight, so we begin by keeping you weather aware.
Chief Meteorologist Matt Farrell joins us now for a first look at our forecast. Matt, watch out. You're tracking some weather out there.
Definitely am. We've got a few storms already in the area, and this is going to extend through the rest of the evening as well. You can see we have 2 watches in effect right now. A tornado watch for most of our northwestern counties until 9, and then they just issued, I said earlier they would, they just issued a severe thunderstorm watch until midnight for basically the rest of central Texas and the Brazos Valley. So let's jump right into it right now. Take a look at where those strongest storms are. The 2 that we're most concerned with right now near Clifton, near Hillsboro, these 2 storms, severe thunderstorm warnings on them. And take a look at the information here. You can see for Hill County, that's until 6:30. For Bosque, Coryell, Hamilton, and McLennan, that's until 6:45. Both of these storms have a history of very strong winds, very large hail. In fact, the one moving into Hill County, when it was up in Johnson County, some reports of 3-inch hail with this one. Right now, the 2 hail cores are still dropping severe hail. It's gone down. You can see some information there on those warnings, but let's see if this flips back to our hail. There we go. Still above that severe criteria, that 1 inch, so close to 1.5 inches with both these storms. This sliding just to the east of Hillsboro, this one sliding just to the west of Clifton. However, this storm is moving towards Crawford. This one will move down towards Hubbard, Coolidge, and then into the Mexia area. We do have another storm just on the fringe of central Texas that has a history of a little bit of rotation here. Tornado warning on that one. And these storms are going to continue through central Texas here over the rest of the evening. You'd see at least until the 8 o'clock and then through the 11 o'clock hour as well. We'll have more on this, of course, for you in your full weather forecast in just a minute.
All right. Thank you so much, Matt. Appreciate that. New euphoria at 6 o'clock tonight. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers who operate Stillhouse Hollow Lake are now helping in the search for cattle. Earlier this week, we reported Central Texans were out on horseback and in boats searching for livestock that were washed down the Lampasas River and then dumped into the lake.
6 News anchor Bailey Bates is at Stillhouse Hollow with the latest on this heartbreaking matter.
In this cove at Stillhouse Hollow Lake, you can see that debris litters the water as far as the eye can see behind me. That's what locals are dealing with when searching for cattle here. It's expected some of the livestock are from up to 50 miles away, floating down the Lampasas River, being dumped into Stillhouse Hollow Lake. Along with the animals, tons of debris, including tires, trash, and a bunch of tree branches, and even trunks. John Thibodeau, the lake manager of Stillhouse Hollow, was out on the lake with a crew for several hours today. He says most of the heavy debris has been pushed into coves. However, he says the debris fields are too thick to get to the cattle that they have found.
We took a full tour of the lake, checking every debris field, all the shorelines. Unfortunately, we did find a few deceased cows in those large debris fields today. There wasn't much we could do. We can't get to the cows. We can't do anything at this point.
Thibodeau says the Corps is working alongside some locals, giving them access to Corps property where some cattle have made it to land alive. Overall, this is an ongoing and evolving situation. The lake manager says that the lake is in better condition than what he was anticipating. However, he's still encouraging people to take it slow if you are out on the water here. Reporting in Bell County, I'm Bailey Bates for 6 News.
Meanwhile, the wife of a Fort Cavazos soldier arrested in Russia says she didn't know her husband was even going there, but is hoping for his safe return. 34-year-old Staff Sergeant Gordon Black was stationed in South Korea when he went to Russia to see his longtime girlfriend following an argument, but was then arrested for allegedly trying to steal from her. In a statement released through an attorney, his wife says she'd filed for divorce from her husband back in 2022 and that the two do share a daughter and that she hopes for the child's sake her father is home soon.
In other news, firefighters and EMS services across the nation are seeing a steady increase in their services being used for non-life-threatening calls in senior homes.
6 News reporter Andrea Uribe has more on how first responders feel this has been depleting their own resources for the rest of the community.
According to new data researched by the Washington Post, Lyft Assist's emergency responses have increased 30% in recent years at assisted and senior care centers across the country, and Texas is no different. The Bryan Fire Department reports that in the past 2 years, the 911 system was used at senior care home facilities almost 4,000 times for non-emergencies. The spike is taking a toll on public resources, and first responders are starting to speak out.
We get calls sometimes to help residents go from the bed to the restroom and the restroom back to the bed, those types of things. The bigger picture is that yes, there are certain situations where that ambulance is at doing those services, and there could be a 911 call for somebody choking or a car wreck, and then that response to that call is delayed.
The president of the American Senior Housing Association released a statement saying the need to call 911 when a senior living residence falls is driven by resident and staff member safety and state licensure requirements. But first responders say a collaborative solution is now needed.
We want the residents to be taken care of, but we also don't want to overburden the 911 system so that we can be available and get to that emergency in the timeliest manner possible.
For 6 News, I'm Andrea Uribe.
And the Bryan Fire Department says they're open to working with and training staff and senior homes to help them respond to their clients. Meanwhile, a 4-year-old child is dead after gunfire ripped through a San Antonio area home, seriously injuring 4 others inside the home, including 2 children.
As Mike Jimenez shows us, video of the shooting was caught on a neighbor's camera. We do want to warn you, this could be hard to watch.
First, like 5 or 6 loud pop, 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 and then pop, 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 and then I looked over at my son, and he looked at me, and I like, what was that?
Joanne Lewis said she had just gone inside around 7:40 Wednesday evening when she heard the gunfire.
That has destroyed the peace in this neighborhood right there.
Door camera videos shared by the Bexar County Sheriff's Office show a gray car drive up on Windsor Oaks, park alongside the road. That's when 2 men jump out, ran up to the front of the duplex, and fired.
It's a miracle we're not dealing with 5 dead bodies right now.
5 people inside the home were shot, including 3 children under the age of 10. They were all taken to the hospital in serious condition. A 4-year-old died from her injuries. Deputies say it was a targeted attack.
There was some information that there was some words exchanged with somebody that we believe to be a suspect, and there was actually some inquiries being made as to whether there were kids in the house.
Sheriff Salazar says the 2 men seen shooting into the duplex could be facing capital murder charges.
Because you just took a life that's just beginning. You didn't even think. You weren't even thinking about, you didn't care.
Meanwhile, nationwide, over the past few weeks, we've seen demonstrations on college campuses all over the country. In Texas, calling for an end to the war in Gaza.
While many protesters are just calling on the end to violence, some students say others are crossing the line. Sydney Persing shares the experiences of 2 students in the Jewish community who spoke up about this week about what it's been like.
UT Dallas's campus is quiet, mostly empty ahead of graduation. But Wednesday, 2 students showed up.
Thank you for meeting us
to speak out
and allowing us the opportunity to voice our concerns.
Ofer Torjeman and Jade Steinberg are UTD students. They are also proud Jews.
We have both decided amongst ourselves that it is incredibly important for our voices to be heard.
Exactly 1 week ago, 21 people were arrested during one of several large pro-Palestinian protests at UTD. At a news conference, Jade and Ofer said they support everyone's right to free speech, including pro-Palestinian students, but told reporters that since the start of the war, there are some people on campus whose speech has veered into blatant harassment, undeniable anti-Semitism.
I've been recognized and yelled at around campus. I've seen swastikas on campus. I've been called a Nazi and a devil.
I have been told that if Hamas does not kill you, we will. And that was the breaking point for me. That was when I realized this is no longer people peacefully protesting. This is no longer people fighting for a just cause.
Jade and Ofer want the university to develop a clear definition for what is considered anti-Semitism on campus. They also want their community to hear them, believe them, and stand with them.
Because it is directly affecting all of us and is incredibly painful.
In Richardson,
it makes me not want to go to class.
I'm Sydney Persing.
Now back here in Central Texas, Interim Hospice in Temple is looking for veteran volunteers to help their veteran patients. It only costs an hour of your time, but the reward will last a lifetime. It's sharing stories, phone calls to check in, pinning ceremonies, writing letters, and having a coffee. All things to help a vulnerable population. Right now, the program only has 11 volunteers, but many aren't veterans.
If you match them with another veteran, they open up because they're with someone who understands. they're with someone that they can have that brotherhood and that camaraderie with that the civilians just can't relate to. And it suddenly they're telling stories and they're alert and they're able to just relive some of those things. You're giving a gift that can't be measured. It can't be compensated.
If you are interested or have questions, you can head on over to our website, kcentv.com. Coming up on 6 News, overcrowding means your help is also needed at a local animal shelter. We'll hear from them about the issue and what you can do to give them a hand.
And a little bit later in sports, stick with us because Baylor softball gets underway at the Big 12 tournament. How the Bears hope to turn their fortunes in good old OKC. This is 6 News at 6. Stay with us.
Tonight, a Temple Animal Rescue is asking for your help. It needs donations and people to adopt animals.
6 News anchor Micah Wilson spoke with Pearl's Place and has more on their dire call for help.
Yeah, right now Pearl's Place in East Temple says it is over capacity by more than 20 dogs. The nonprofit is funded by donations and says that it needs more room and funding to care for the influx of animals. Last year alone, Pearl's Place rescued about 150 pets and specializes in taking care of animals with broken legs, gunshots, as well as taking care of dogs from other city shelters who are at risk of being euthanized.
We say no so much to dogs in need just because we don't have the room or the funding. I really wish it could be a lot more. I mean, I look at those numbers and I feel almost let down because for every yes, we have a dozen no's.
6 News is here to help, and that's exactly why we're spreading the word about this. And maybe you're watching this right now and you want to help out too. Well, you can do one of two things. So there's actually some coffee bags that you can buy from the Lost Dog Coffee Company, and all of the proceeds and profits go to Pearl's Place, and they actually have a photo of the dog. Chris?
And as Micah was talking about, the second thing you can do is actually help out by adopting a furry friend. Go to kcentv.com and look for this week's perfect pet to help them find their forever home, as we like to say. Matt is standing by. I-35 corridor getting very active, Matt.
Yeah, it is. Several severe thunderstorm warnings right now, so some very strong, powerful thunderstorms moving through the area, and they're going to keep going through the night. We'll talk about it coming up. Welcome back to 6 News at 6. It is a weather aware day. We have a lot going on across the area. You can see those tornado watches and severe thunderstorm watches still in effect. This tornado watch until 9 o'clock, the severe thunderstorm watch until midnight. You can see some of our back counties are being taken out here as the storm continues to progress from the north to the south. So let's take a look at what's going on. And we're going to go storm by storm because we have several severe thunderstorm warnings in the area right now. The first one we're looking at is just to the west of Mertens, just to the east of Hillsborough, kind of sliding right along Highway 171 there down towards Hubbard right now. This is a severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 7 o'clock. This storm has a history of very large hail, very strong winds. In fact, I'm going to go over to my computer here real quick because it took my marker off. So we're going to take a look here and you can see the winds right now, but it's not 4 miles an hour. I can guarantee you that. Sorry, WSI is arguing with me just a little bit here. Of course, it's doing it on air. All right, we're having some serious issues. Anyway, 40 to 50 to 60 mile an hour winds with this storm. You can see right here, there's just a little bit of rotation, potentially broad rotation, but potentially getting closer to the surface. So something we'll have to monitor right in this area, right along 171. Again, those winds upwards in the range of 50, 60, 70 miles per hour potentially coming out of that storm. Hail right now still right around that severe criteria as well, right around 1 inch there in those darkest blue areas. Again, right along Highway 171. Zooming out and taking a look at where this storm is going, Salem School by 6:30, Malone 6:31, Hubbard there by about 6:45, and then Phyllis Wheatley School 6:47, Delia by 7:04, and Coolidge by 7:07. So that's storm number one. Storm number two off to the southwest right now. You can see the strongest parts of it kind of between Turnersville and Valley Mills right now, just to the west of Highway 6. This severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 6:45. Would not be surprised to see this one get extended as well. Very heavy rainfall rates there. You see 5.63 inches per hour, but the hail is what we're concerned with. 2-inch hail within the core of this storm just to the west of Valley Mills. Thankfully, it is sliding to the west of Highway 6 and not right along Highway 6, because 2-inch hail, very damaging when you get up to that size. Winds, again, it's kind of moved from where I had my cursor set before, but if we look in this area right here, right along the Coryell, Bosque, and McLennan County line, those winds likely into the 60, 70 mile an hour range once again there as well. So very strong winds, very large hail with these storms as they continue tracking from northwest to southeast. This storm heading for Osage towards Gatesville by about 621, Crawford 633, and this one, the core of the storm was heading right towards Crawford, so keep that in mind. Mound by about 640, McGregor 642, South Bosque by about 650, Woodway 652, and then Hewitt by about 657. So the storm is again moving northwest to southeast, very large hail, damaging winds with this storm. Now, taking a look here, something interesting that's happening. These storms are kicking out such strong winds. It's what we call an outflow boundary. It's kind of creating a little mini front out ahead of the storms, and that has kicked up new storms there just to the west, to the east of Waco, just to the west of Mart, kind of sliding again between those two towns there. And that storm that was actually created by the storms behind it now has a severe thunderstorm warning on it for 1-inch hail and those 50 to 60 mile per hour winds as well. Off to the west, we do have this tornado warning storm sliding through Llano County. That one will slide again just to the south of Lampasas and Burnett counties, down towards Travis County as well. And this cold front continues to progress to the south through the night, so these storms will continue over the next several hours. Here we are by about 9 o'clock, and then by about 11 o'clock, everything slides through the Brazos Valley and out of the area. Once the cold front's clear, we're done. The rain will come to an end, and our temperatures will actually be really nice as we head through the night and into tomorrow, starting off in the low to mid 60s by tomorrow afternoon, right around 80 degrees. Several areas, though, staying in the upper 70s, and then even cooler as we head into the weekend. Saturday and Friday, we stay dry. Sunday, we do bring widespread rain back into the forecast. Thunderstorms possible for next week.
A big challenge awaits at the Big 12 tournament. Baylor softball looking to make some noise in Oklahoma City, but if the Bears can get past their first game, they're going to have some big-time challenges after that, possibly multiple top 5 opponents. But before worrying about any of those girls, Bears have to face UCF in the quarterfinals. First pitch coming up tonight at 7:30. Bears swept the Knights when they visited Waco earlier this season, but those games were very low scoring, could have gone either way, so they'll have to be on their game. Another thing to note, this setting has not been very kind to Baylor in the past. Bears have not won a game at this tournament since 2018 and looking to change that.
Quite honestly, at the Big 12 tournament, we've had letdowns because of what I think is mental stress and not being sharp. I think those upperclassmen, having been there last year at the end of the Big 12 tournament, we stayed in the locker room for a little while and we talked about turning this thing around. We have the opportunity to do that. Hopefully we will step it up.
There's no pressure on us because, as you kind of mentioned, we don't typically perform well, so we don't have high expectations. So we're going to kind of go out there, play free, and roll with the punches, roll with the momentum we got going on.
Texas A&M's opening game at the SEC tournament moved back due to weather. The Aggies will now face South Carolina tomorrow morning. A&M hoping to recapture some magic from earlier in the season, especially with their star pitcher Emily Kennedy. She's been off a little bit, but she's, of course, very, very talented. And some of the best athletes in the country are in Waco this week as Baylor hosts the Big 12 Track and Field Championships. And a few Bears we're keeping our eyes on. Men's javelin final earlier today. Chinecherum Prosper Namdi, how about this? A Big 12 record. That was the gold medal throw. He don't have the distance. I think it was something like 260 feet, chucking that thing through the air. So he is a gold medalist for the Baylor Bears. That's it for sports. We'll be right back.
All right, still watching those storms as they track across the northern parts of central Texas. Right now you can see multiple severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for Bosque, McLennan, up towards Hill County. These storms have a history of very large hail, 2+ inch hail in their history. Right now most of these storms right around 1.5 inches to 2 inches, so keep that in mind. They are moving off to the southeast right now and will continue to do so here over the course of the evening. Still watching that cold front. It's draped across the area, and as it continues to move south, it's going to keep pushing storms up, so we're going to be dealing with this here for a few hours yet. We're going to be live on KCENTV.com. We're on the 6 News app. We're on 6+, and we have a Facebook Live going, so make sure that you are staying weather aware with us tonight.
And here's what's coming up tonight in prime time. It's Law and Order Night on Channel 6, and we'll be back on 6 News at 10. That's our time here at 6 o'clock. I've enjoyed being here, and I'll be back again this weekend anchoring.
Great job, Cindy. We enjoyed having you. Super job. Don't forget, Wheel of Fortune is coming up next, and we'll see you back here tonight at 10 o'clock. Have a wonderful Thursday evening, everybody.
Coming up tonight on 6 News at 10, severe storms rolling across central Texas. We'll say, blah, 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 blah. We won't say, we'll talk about things. That was weird. Sorry. That was goofy. Coming up tonight on 6 News at 10, we're talking about severe thunderstorms rolling across central Texas, when they'll end and when they might come back. We'll have that for you tonight at 10. All right, if you're still with us on the stream, we're still tracking storms. Thanks for staying with us this evening. And if you tuned in to 6 News at 6, thank you for that as well. We're going to keep this thing going online, and if we have to cut into television, we will. Don't see the need at the moment, but the next time, if y'all are listening in the back, next time we hit a break, it would probably not be a bad idea to jump in real quick. I know we're in a break right now, but like the next break that we have after the show starts. Whatever will get us in the least trouble. That's a good point. All right, for those of you listening at home, I've just been talking to our control room, if you've been listening in, just about what we feel we should cover. Because in this situation, we're dealing with primarily, and just to pull back the curtain for you just a little bit, we're dealing with primarily a hail threat right now. There is a straight line wind threat. We're not seeing any tornado warnings for our main counties, but as these storms continue to track across parts of McLennan, Hill, and Bosque, we might want to cut in during a commercial break. And sometimes we have to make the determination of whether we want to cut in during what we call our national breaks. Those are your national advertisements, your Best Buys, your McDonald's, your what have you, as opposed to some of our local breaks, which are purchased by local companies. So a little bit of television history there for you. But we are watching these storms. No tornado threat right now. We do have a very large hail threat. It is moving towards Crawford. So if you're in the Crawford area, this very large hail core is moving towards town right now. In the next 5 to 10 minutes, Crawford will be getting hit with some hail. And we're going to take a look here in just a second at what size that hail currently is. The storm that was kicked up by the outflow boundaries there, that's just to the west of Waco, or to the east of Waco. In fact, if you're in Waco, you might be getting some rain. You're not getting any of the hail core. That is sliding between Waco and Mart. Not moving very fast, though, and because of that, we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now. Any storm that moves very, very slowly, of course, can drop a lot of rain. So we're watching, again, the potential for some flooding. No flash flood warnings issued just yet, but again, something to keep an eye on for us here this evening. We have one more storm, and that storm is the one that we were kind of watching first. This was the first one to kind of enter into central Texas, and that's the storm that's been in parts of Hill County. Right now, the strongest part of the storm is along 171, west of Emmett. Again, moving through Hill County, but down towards Hubbard. So if you're in Hubbard, a good chance that some very large hail will be moving through the area here the next half hour or so. So keep that in mind. If you're in Hubbard, make sure you're indoors. And if you can get your car in the garage, that would be the best place for it, because again, this is going to produce very large hail from what we've been seeing so far. So let's go ahead and take a look at the hail core on this storm first. Well, first we're going to look at the winds. Strongest winds right now actually approaching Hubbard at the moment. 40 to 50 mile per hour winds possible. And again, this is just north of Hubbard. So if you're in Hubbard, next 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to be experiencing some very gusty winds. So don't be surprised by that. Anything over about 50 miles per hour can be damaging. What we consider severe would be 58 plus. Now, we're not seeing 58 plus necessarily on our radar. That does not mean they cannot gust up that high, though. So very strong winds with this storm. That's the first thing to be concerned with. Second thing, again, that we've been talking about is the hail. These storms are producing very large hail. Some of the largest hail we've seen so far this season. Not necessarily for us, but when it was in DFW, this storm that we're looking at right now, the storm that's passing through Hill County, when it was up in Johnson County, up towards Cleburne, there were some reports potentially of 3-inch hail with this storm. Right now, that is not the case. Right now, we're looking at more in the neighborhood of about an inch in diameter. So again, right along those severe limits. Still damaging. If it hits your car, it's going to leave a mark at 1 inch for sure. And if it hits you in the head, it is definitely going to be very painful. It can cause injuries. So that's why we say during these hailstorms, we want to make sure that you're inside. If you're in Emmett right now, probably some pea-sized to pocket change-sized hail. But again, the primary part of this hail core is sliding right along Highway 171, more towards the Hubbard area right now. So that's storm number 1. Let's go back to storm number 2. We kind of started on it because that's where our radar was at the end of the show. But we are going to take a look at this storm now moving basically into Crawford. If you're in Crawford, this storm is bearing down on you as we speak. Now, our radar is showing that the largest hail is staying west of Crawford, but that does not mean that if you're in town, you're not seeing some very large hail as well, or potentially about to see some very large hail. In fact, the core of this storm just to the northwest of town, 1.6 inches, so a little bit better than 1.5 inches, so very large. This is larger than pocket change sized hail. This is above severe criterion, which is 1 inch in diameter. So very large hail, damaging hail that can leave a mark on sheet metal, it can leave a mark on fiberglass, and it can leave a mark on you. So that's why we say make sure that you are indoors during these storms. This storm also kicking out some very gusty outflow winds for sure. In fact, we're seeing winds with this storm, tell you just by looking at it, the core of the winds right now moving past Highway 84, probably about 50 to 60 miles per hour. Let's take a look. Let's do a little check. And yeah, 55 miles per hour, so 50 to 60 mile per hour winds now crossing Highway 84. Thankfully, the core of the winds with this storm are staying kind of rural right now. Again, that does not mean that if you're in Crawford that you're not going to experience very gusty winds as the storm comes through. It just means the core, the strongest winds are staying out west along Highway 84. If you're in Crawford, still likely a wind event coming through with this storm. So those are the 2 storms that we started with. We have now spawned a 3rd storm, and this is the one that is kind of moving through Mart, Groesbeck. Not as strong. You can see there is a severe thunderstorm warning on this particular storm, but not really seeing a lot here. Let's take a look. For Mart, mainly heavy rain. Again, gusty winds possible. Looking right south of Mart, near Groesbeck, winds probably in the neighborhood of about 50 miles per hour, maybe 50 to 60 miles per hour. And then as far as the reflectivity was concerned, didn't see anything that would resemble a hail core, but that doesn't mean it's not there. we switch to radar, and in fact, you can see there, just because it's not necessarily showing up on our radar doesn't mean it's not there. Again, we're seeing about 1.5 inch hail here, basically just to the east of Highway 6, moving towards Marlin. The storm itself going to continue to stay a little bit more rural here, stay off of Highway 6, because everything is moving off to the southeast at this hour. But worth noting, 1.5 inch hail here, moving just to the southwest of Mart, will continue moving southeast down towards the east side of Marlin there. Groesbeck also seeing some 1 inch hail there in that neck of the woods. So if you're along Highway 14, or if you need to travel along Highway 14, definitely some very large hail in that neck of the woods to watch out for as well. I would delay right now if you're anywhere between Mexia and say College Station, you have any traveling that needs to happen on Highway 14. I probably would not do that at this moment. So as we've been watching these storms and moving in from the northwest, you can see what happens here as this continues to track through its progression. As the storms move into central Texas, those very gusty outflow winds coming out of these storms, 50 to 60 miles per hour, kind of generating another storm here. As they blow out, it creates a little mini front. The winds come out, they're cold, they lift the air in front because it's more warm, it's more humid, therefore lighter. And so you get this lift and you get a new batch of thunderstorms. This one not moving terribly fast here. And so again, a little bit of a minor flooding concern from about the east side of Waco up through Fairfield and into Palestine, because it's just not moving. That's the problem. So as this continues to push along, hopefully we'll get some movement out of this particular part of the storm, because that could cause some flooding concerns as well, as it's just, again, not really moving. We have another storm. It's kind of on the periphery of the area. Haven't spent a lot of time talking about it today because it's mainly stayed west of central Texas, but right now the storm has moved into Llano County. This storm did have a tornado warning on it before. That has been allowed to expire, so we're not seeing the same sort of tight rotation with this storm that we were seeing before. Let's go ahead and take a look at it, see what it looks like right now. Having allowed the tornado warning to expire, I'm assuming the National Weather Service is seeing not much rotation here. Not seeing much in the way of hail either. Again, right along the Llano County line, maybe 3/4 of an inch to an inch there. So just right along those severe limits. But again, kind of moving just to the west of Llano, and we'll continue to track off to the southeast and likely move south of Burnett County. We were going to talk about velocity, weren't we? Yeah, so taking a look, still seeing some rotation in here, not seeing the tight rotation, but you can see some very powerful winds in this storm as well, upwards of 50, 60 miles per hour. I know I sound like a broken record, but 50 to 60 mile per hour winds are not going to be uncommon with any storm that's able to develop tonight as these continue to move from northwest to southeast across the area. So keep that in mind. Hail cores will also not be uncommon, so be on the lookout for those as well, as these storms have a history of 2 to 3 inch hail, and we would not be surprised if they are able to produce that once again as we head through the rest of the evening. So that's what we're looking at right now. Before I step off screen and go take care of a few things that I need to take care of, we are going to take one last wide look. You can see the severe thunderstorm warning for that batch of storms that was spawned off the main batch has been extended now down into parts of Falls County, the mid sections there of Limestone County as well. So again, still seeing the winds and potentially the hail core with this storm. The one that was moving towards Crawford seems to be falling apart just in the last couple of scans here. Not seeing the deep hail core that we were seeing before. The one in Hill County is still holding together. Strong winds, I think, probably are going to be the likeliest concern with this storm. With this one, going to be more along the flooding threat, because again, it is fairly well stationary. So that's what we're dealing with right now. Like I said, I'm going to step off for a minute, let you kind of watch the radar here as it progresses, and I'll be back if I need to. All right, want to thank everybody again for staying with us on our live stream this afternoon, this evening. We have lots of storms still across the area. In fact, the second batch of storms we've been dealing with, again, this was the first batch. Remember, this was the one that moved into Bosque County. This one moved into Hill County. We are now dealing with a second batch of storms that's kind of been created off that first batch. Those turning severe now, too, on a line from basically Marlin up to Mexia and Fairfield. You can see several areas in here with potential hail cores developing. So that's what we're going to look at now. We're going to kind of take our attention off those northernmost storms for just a second and focus on what has been created in sort of a secondary nature here. All right. So again, what we're dealing with is a situation where these storms came in from the north, and the outflow winds coming out of these storms are so strong, they've basically created a little mini front that helped kick up this next batch of storms along the line here. And you can see now that a lot of these storms, or this storm over here especially, is becoming what it looks like potentially what we call outflow dominant, where it starts to push out those very cold upper level winds out at the surface, and then it starts to ingest them itself, and that's what kind of makes it fall apart, because it loses its source of heat. So that's what we're dealing with that storm, but these storms now growing in intensity in the eastern half of the area, the Highway 14 corridor there, the Highway 6, Highway 14 corridor. So that's where we're going to focus our attention for the next couple of minutes. All right, here we go. All right, so severe thunderstorm warnings in effect now for most of McLennan County, all the way over to Limestone County and Falls County as well. And the problem that we're seeing again with these storms primarily today has been a hail threat. However, there is a strong straight line wind issue with these storms as well. It is not 3 miles per hour. I do not know why that keeps popping up. These are the areas like just south of Groesbeck that we'd be concerned with 50 miles per hour. You can see there up along Highway 171, 50 to 60 mile per hour winds there, and that's again behind with that back storm a little bit there. But you can see strong straight line winds there all along the leading edge of this system as it continues to move off to the southeast here. And again, the other issue that we're dealing with, of course, is the hail threat. So as we take a look inside at what's falling out of this particular storm, you can see that the hailstones are very large. Here near Groesbeck, we're seeing areas where the hail could be up to about 2 inches there, 2-inch hail potential there just to the east of Marlin. Now, most of these are staying outside of town. You can see Groesbeck's dealing with likely some 1/2 inch to 1 inch hail, but the 2-inch hail, thankfully, staying off to the west side of town. The problem is it is going to cross Highway 14 here over the next 30 minutes or so. So that's going to be an issue, especially if you're down towards Thornton, down towards right here where 7 crosses. That's going to be Cossey. So it's going to stay north of there, but south of Groesbeck as it crosses Highway 14 and move on towards probably the west side of Olathe as well. This storm here will be crossing Highway 7 here over the next half hour or so as well. So a couple of storms here that we're going to have to watch with very large hail cores. Again, not large in terms of geography, but large in terms of the hail that's coming out, probably about 2 inches in diameter. In fact, let's check the hail inside this Groesbeck storm. Yeah, 2.3. That's getting very close to tennis ball and baseball sized hail. So very large hailstones falling out of this storm, again, as it's going to cross Highway 14 here over the next half hour or so. So something definitely that we want to keep an eye on there. And then the storm just to the east of Highway 6, that one's likely 2-inch hail there at its core as well. So very large hail with a lot of these storms. That's been kind of the primary issue or concern through most of the day. We are dealing with strong straight line winds, but those are less of a concern right now than what we're seeing with the hail situation. But again, these storms very powerful, continue to push off to the southeast through the area here over the course of the rest of the evening. Go ahead and take that off and just take a look at what's going on wide view. And again, the storm that just moved through Crawford. Do want to take a look inside the storm. It definitely looks like it has torn itself up just a little bit here, and you can see the storm is still dropping very large hail up to about 1 inch in diameter, but this is not at all 1.5 inches there in the core of the storm, heading down towards should slide just to the east of Moody, crossing I-35 just to the north of Troy. So probably likely going to move through the Bruceville Eddy area as this storm continues to track to the southeast. Should move just just along the east side of Moody, then towards Bruceville Eddy, and then down along the Bell and Falls County line there. So that's the direction that storm is heading. But remember, this storm in its past was capable of 2.5-inch hail. It has come down significantly here over the last hour or so. But definitely something we want to keep an eye on there to see if these storms do continue to dissipate just a little bit. That would be very nice. Obviously, we want to keep the rainfall going. We don't want it to sit over any one place any extended period of time because we've had so many flooding issues, but certainly want to see the rain keep falling and keep everything replenished. But we definitely don't want to see the severe stuff. Obviously, that is what we want to avoid. And again, it looks like these storms are calming down just a little bit as they continue to track to the southeast. As these storms continue to move, what's pushing them along, of course, is that cold front that we've been dealing with or been talking about for the past week or so. This cold front now draped across parts of central Texas here, continuing to move off to the southeast, and it's kind of pushing these storms up, and they're being kind of aided along by what's happening in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere as well. But this cold front will continue to be a focal point for thunderstorm creation here over the rest of the evening. Take a look back to the back, though. We're starting to see some clearing up towards Mineral Wells, Stephenville, the western portions of DFW or North Texas there, and that will be what comes our way over the course of the night. We got to get through this initial line of storms, but once the initial line is passed, much nicer weather in store for us as we head through the rest of the night and into tomorrow. So I'm going to step off again and let this continue to run, so I will be back. All right, thanks again, everybody, for sticking with us on our live stream this evening. We are about to do a live on-air cut-in just as soon as Wheel of Fortune is concluded here. I don't want to interrupt Wheel of Fortune. I know how that goes, but we definitely have some hailstorms to talk about. So we're going to do a quick little minute-and-a-half cut-in on air here just in the next probably minute or so. So we're going to prepare. If I'm just standing here and not saying anything, that's why. 2.5 minutes? Oh, okay. 2.5 minutes. That's when we'll be doing our cut-in. So, not much has changed in the 5 minutes since I talked to you last. We're still watching those storms come through. Still primarily a wind and hail threat. Seeing as we go through the rest of the evening, you'll start to see these counties get removed from this watch. Again, the yellow is a tornado watch. The pink is a severe thunderstorm watch. Again, we kind of knew that today was not going to be a big tornado day, but we knew we had several opportunities for some very large hail with a lot of these storms as they came through, though. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Chief Meteorologist Matt Farrell here with you on a Thursday night. Going to get you out to Law and Order here in just a second, but I did want to give everybody an update on what is happening across the area. We still have that tornado watch in effect for most of our counties until 9 o'clock. The rest of us under that severe thunderstorm watch until midnight. Still watching a few storms that are currently moving through basically the central parts of central Texas here. Going to zoom out just a little bit on these storms and show you what's going on. Again, the two storms we were dealing with that moved into Bosque and Hill counties, those have come down just a little bit, but we're still seeing 1-inch hail here with this storm. Again, going to slide just to the east of Moody, but that is moving off to the southeast. Likely going to cross I-35 right around in the Bruceville area. Again, 1-inch hail there. 40 to 50 mile per hour winds with that storm. The storm up in Hill County moving towards Coolidge and then on towards Mexia. That one is dropping 1 to 1.5 inch hail. And again, the winds gusting there at about 50 to 60 miles per hour. This conglomeration of storms right here from Thornton up towards Groesbeck, up towards Mexia. This one's dropping a lot of rain, not moving very quickly. So again, a little bit of a flooding concern there, but also starting to see hail cores pop up in these storms right along Highway 14 with hail generally in the neighborhood of about 2 inches. The last time I checked. We're going to take another look here, and again, this is right along Highway 14 just south of Groesbeck. Again, north of Thornton, south of Groesbeck, crossing Highway 14. 1-inch hail there right in the core. Up near Coolidge, you can see that's 1.5 to 2-inch hail, and then south of Mart, crossing towards Highway 7 right now between Marlin and Cossie here. We're seeing a storm again capable of 1.5 to 2-inch hail. These storms are moving off to the southeast right now at about 20 to 30 miles per hour, and will continue to do so over the course of the rest of the evening. You can see the direction they're moving there. We'll continue to take it down towards the Brazos Valley. We have storms still possible in our area all the way up through about 11 o'clock or midnight, so we're going to stay here with you. But right now we're going to take you out to Law and Order. We're still streaming, though, on KCENTV.com, the 6 News app, and on Facebook Live. For now, this is Chief Meteorologist Matt Farrell sending you back to Law and Order. All right, I want to thank everybody again for sticking around with us here on this Thursday evening on our live stream right now. Now we've seen this setup kind of evolve a little bit here. Again, we had the storms, kicked out a little bit of an outflow boundary, started up a new batch of storms. Now they're all kind of congealing into just, again, a couple of storms here at this hour, and they continue to move off to the southeast. Do want to take a look here. Biggest concerns that we've been dealing with have been wind and hail for most of the night, and that continues to be the primary threat here. We're not seeing a lot in the way of what we would consider like tornadic rotation or anything. And in fact, as these storms continue to push into the central parts of central Texas towards Falls County and the northern extent of Bell County here, we're seeing a little bit of breakdown in the storm structure a little bit. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what's going on with these storms. Still plenty of hail that we're dealing with, and again, this hail core here, the problem with that one is it's right in the vicinity, and I was saying this a few minutes ago, it's right in the vicinity of Bruceville Eddy. And so that area getting kind of pelted with some very large hail just to the south of Bruceville Eddy. So kind of moving between, the largest of the hail is moving between Bruceville Eddy and Troy, right along kind of the county line there. And as we take a look here, the largest hail is kind of stuck behind our I-35 shield there. But again, 1.9, 2 inches not out of the question here. So right around 2-inch hail with this storm. The storm that is just to the east of Waco there, 1-inch hail, and that again is falling to the east side of Waco. Will cross Highway 6 though and Highway 164 over the next several minutes. So that's something to keep in mind if you have travel plans. And then the largest hail core that we're kind of seeing right now is off to the east, again along Highway 14. Just to the east a little bit of, or just to the west a little bit of Highway 14, and it crashed on me, so now I have to restart. All right. So yeah, right along Highway 14 here, we're seeing very large hail right along 14 and 7, kind of where they come together near Cossie there. Again, 1.5 to 2-inch hail in the cores of these storms right along Highway 7 right now, just to the southeast of Groesbeck, and then just to the northwest of Mexia. So the problem with this storm is it is now moving towards Mexia. So if you're in Mexia, 1-inch hail definitely possible here over the next several minutes as the storm continues to track off to the southeast. So that's something you'll want to keep an eye on if you are in that area. If you're in Mexia right now, again, 1-inch hail definitely heading towards the area. If you're in Cossie, possibly larger hail than that. We're talking 1.5 to 2 inches coming right through the intersection of 14 and 7 there. So that's something to keep an eye on here. The hail core to the east of Waco has diminished a little bit, 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch there. Let's take a look here near Moody and Troy. We just did, but I want to take a look again. It looks like that hail core is expanding just a little bit. Okay, still kind of stuck behind that I-35 shield. It's expanding a little bit, but not seeing the large hail that we were seeing before. Again, right up to about 1 inch there with that particular hail core as well. Put all this in motion, you're going to see, I've been saying it's moving from northwest to southeast, but always better to see something than to say something. So as you see these storms kind of move through, these hail cores have really diminished since they moved into our neck of the woods into central Texas earlier. You can see as the storm came through Crawford, just to the west side of Crawford, we saw hail that was up over 2 inches. So that's definitely an improving situation there. This storm here is, again, this is the one that was kind of kicked up by those outflow boundaries. It's not really moving a whole lot. It is moving off to the southeast, but not at the same pace as everything else is. So we're seeing those hail cores kind of sit along these areas for a little bit longer. We're also seeing the rain falling for a little bit longer as well. So a potential flooding threat there along that leading edge as well. So that's what we're dealing with now. We're going to keep the radar running here over the next course of the rest of the evening here until all this activity moves out. And of course, I will be back with any updates as they are needed. All right, another thing worth noting here, seeing these storms now that are kind of moving through Moody, and again, this is the storm that had the core moving through the parts of Bruce, Valetti, and Troy area. Now they're kicking out winds out ahead of them. These outflow winds are kicking out up to about 50 to 60 miles per hour. You can see that right here on our radar here. And this is going to move through parts of central Bell County. So if you're in Temple, don't be surprised here for the next 10 minutes or 10 to 15 minutes, you hear some very strong winds moving through area. These are flowing out from that storm that we were just talking about that moved the hail through northern Bell County just a few minutes ago. So that is something to keep an eye on as well. And of course, we'll continue monitoring, and if we see a situation where the winds increase or we see another hail core start to develop, of course, we'll be back with more updates. All right. Want to thank everybody for staying with us again on our live stream this afternoon, this evening. Again, still watching those storms move across the area as we head through the rest of the evening. Again, this has been primarily a wind and hail threat. There's been a couple of brief areas, especially out to our west. We had some issues with a brief potential rotational situation where a tornado warning was issued there for parts of Llano County, but that very quickly was allowed to expire. And that was about an hour and a half ago. Mostly, again, wind and hail has been the story here with these storms as they continue to move through. A couple of main storms that we have, and then again starting to cluster just a little bit, so we're going to see more of a line of storms come through than we are just going to see those individual storms as we head through the rest of the evening. When that happens, usually transitions from more of a hail threat to more of a wind threat, so that's going to be what we're going to keep an eye on here for the rest of the night. Although, still some pretty strong hail cores with a couple of these storms right now. In fact, some of these storms have had hail up to about 3 inches. That was before they moved into central Texas, so that's good news. But again, a lot of us still seeing 1.5 to 2 inch hail over the course of the last couple of hours here. First thing we're going to look at, though, is the wind situation. So there's this area of potentially tight rotation here between Mexia and Groesbeck. No tornado warning on this, not necessarily down to the surface just yet. But the main thing to take away right now from our velocity image is the brighter reds, the brighter greens that we're seeing across parts of Bell County, Falls County, up in, again, between Mexia and Groesbeck down towards Centerville. Some of these winds are pushing out 50 to 60 mile per hour winds, so damaging winds coming out the front side of these storms. It's what we call a little outflow coming out of these storms, and that's what we're dealing with. If you were in Temple just about 10 minutes ago, you felt that come through, 40 to 50 miles per hour, pushing out of that storm that brought the hail to parts of Bruceville, Eddy, and Troy. As far as the hail is concerned, still seeing a few separate hail cores. Things have diminished a little bit here over the past hour or so, but we're still seeing 1/2 inch hail there just to the east of Temple, there in parts of western Falls County. This particular hail core still up to about 1.5 inches, maybe 1 3/4 inches there as it moves down into Robertson County. And then this storm over here, again, a hail core probably up to about 1 inch, maybe a little over 1 inch, moving down now towards Leon County. And those are the remaining hail cores that we're dealing with. Most of this situation, again, will become a little bit more of a wind threat here over the rest of the evening as it continues to push through. So we're going to watch out for that. We are seeing storms, we are seeing counties taken out of our tornado watch. That is great news. Of course, as the storms move from northwest to southeast, we can start taking counties out of these watches. And you can see now only McLennan, Coryell, and Lampasas and San Saba counties, only counties left in the tornado watch. The severe thunderstorm watch does continue until midnight for everybody else. So areas shaded in pink, that's a severe thunderstorm watch until midnight. Areas in yellow, that's a tornado watch here for the next hour and a half or so until about 9 o'clock. So that's all we have going on right now. Not a huge situation, but again, 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts possible. And then those hail cores of up to about 1.5 inches at this point moving across the area. So real quickly, showed you the wide view. So now we're going to take a look at the storm by storm situation. The biggest situation that we have right now, crossing Highway 7 just to the east of Caussey. You can see that is the largest hail core we have on our radar right now. And that is where we were seeing, I mentioned a second ago, the up to about 2 inch hail here. And again, 1.8, close to 2 inches there as it crosses, has crossed Highway 7, now moving down now into Robertson County. So that's the largest hail core that we have left. This one back here on the east side of Limestone County, that one again up to about 1.5 inches there as well. So most of the strong hail cores now on the east side of the viewing area. And as we take a look at the western half, again, we're going to look down towards Rosebud, towards Lott, and that's where we're seeing another hail core that is moving across the area. You can see this one has diminished significantly. When it crossed near Bruceville, Eddy, we were still seeing hail up to about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. At this point, we're dealing with likely less than 1 inch hail. It is moving towards Rosebud, should stay just to the west of Rosebud, cross Highway 53 there, just to the west of town. And as it does so, we're going to see likely up to about 3/4 inch with the hail. So that's about all we're dealing with there. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's still a situation where if you're in the path of these storms, and again, these are moving northwest to southeast, this one moving towards Rosebud, should stay to the west of town. But again, if you have travel plans, this can definitely do damage to your car. Even though it's not 1 inch in diameter, it's still not something that you want to be out in. So make sure you're staying indoors for at least the next 20 to 30 minutes if you're in that area and not getting out onto Highway 53 at this time. So that's what we're dealing with now. Again, we'll let the radar continue to run. For now, though, I'm going to step off and let you kind of see how these things progress a little bit.